Everybody thought I was just some small town mechanic who got lucky marrying a billionaire. Even Daniel's family looked down on me like I didn't belong. But the second armed robbers stormed our wedding, they found out something about me that shocked every single person there, including my husband. Before I explain how my wedding turned into a war zone, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell. This story's packed with twists you'll never expect. Believe me, nothing is what it looks like. My name's Sarah, and 6 months ago, I was just another grease covered mechanic in a little town called Millfield. I owned a small auto shop that barely paid the bills, but it was mine. Every morning, I'd pull my hair back, throw on my coveralls, and spend the day fixing engines. It wasn't fancy, but after everything I'd lived through, it gave me peace. Then one Tuesday in March changed my whole life. A shiny black Bentley rolled into my shop with steam pouring out from under the hood. Out stepped the best looking guy I'd ever seen, tall, dark haired, perfectly dressed in a suit worth more than 3 months of my pay. He looked completely out of place in my garage. "Excuse me, can you help? My car just died," he said in this smooth, calm voice. I wiped my hands on my coveralls and walked over. "Let me check it out." One look under the hood told me the problem. "Your radiator hose blew. Easy fix, but it'll take about an hour." He looked surprised I actually knew what I was talking about. Most people assumed that because I was a woman, I didn't really understand cars, but this guy, Daniel Harrison, actually listened while I explained the problem and how I'd repair it. While I worked, we talked. He kept asking questions about engines, car models, and repairs like he was honestly interested. Most rich people treated me like I was invisible, but Daniel listened to every word I said. After I finished, he paid me twice my normal rate. Then, right before he left, he smiled and asked, "Maybe you'd want to grab coffee sometime?" I almost laughed. A guy like him asking out a mechanic like me sounded crazy, but the look in his eyes felt real. I heard myself say yes. That one coffee date turned into dinners, long walks, and late night talks that lasted for hours. Daniel told me he was the CEO of Harrison Tech, the billion-dollar business his father built from the ground up. I told him about my repair shop, how much I loved fixing things, and the quiet little life I had in Millfield. What I didn't tell him was why I chose that life, or what I'd been hiding from. 3 months later, he proposed. It wasn't some huge romantic scene either. We were sitting in my tiny apartment above the shop when he got down on one knee. "Sarah, I've never met anyone like you," he said. "You're honest, real, and you make me feel like I'm more than just money. Will you marry me?" I said yes, but deep down, part of me wondered if I was making the biggest mistake of my life. Daniel knew Sarah the mechanic. He had no idea who I used to be before that. The first time I met his family, I knew things were going to get rough. His mother, Catherine Harrison, was exactly what you'd expect from a billionaire's wife. Perfect hair, expensive diamonds, and a look that made me feel like dirt on her shoe. "So, you're the mechanic," she said when Daniel introduced us at their mansion. Not "nice to meet you," not "welcome to the family," just the mechanic, like it was something embarrassing. His sister, Amanda, was even worse. She was 25, spoiled rotten, and had never worked a real job in her life. From day one, she made it clear I didn't belong there. "It's interesting Daniel picked someone so different," she said with a fake smile. "We always thought he'd end up with some successful businesswoman or socialite. Their father, William, hid it better, but he was just as cold. Whenever I talked, he'd nod politely without really listening. I could almost see him wondering how much damage I'd do to the family name. The worst part was hearing what they said when they thought I wasn't around. At our engagement dinner, I walked past the hallway bathroom and heard Catherine talking to her friends. I don't understand what Daniel sees in her. She's so ordinary. And look at her hands. You can tell she actually works." Amanda laughed and added, "She's obviously after his money. She probably saw dollar signs the second he walked into that little garage of hers." Even planning the wedding became a nightmare. Catherine took control of everything and never asked what I wanted. "Trust me, dear. I know what's appropriate for this family," she'd say anytime I gave an opinion. She picked the estate for the wedding, the flowers, the food, and even tried to choose my dress. The one thing I refused to let Catherine control was the guest list. I made sure my parents and my brother Jake were invited, even though Catherine acted like they'd embarrass the whole family. My parents were good, hardworking people who raised me right, but around Daniel's family, they felt so out of place that they barely spoke during any of the wedding events. Jake was different. Years ago, we'd served in the military together, and he was the only person who knew the truth about my past. The night before the wedding, he pulled me aside. "Sarah, are you really sure about this? These people don't deserve you. They have no clue who you are or what you've done for this country." "That's exactly the point," I told him. "I don't want to be that person anymore. I just want to be Sarah, the mechanic who fell in love with a good man." But Jake still looked uneasy. "I've been checking into Daniel's business," he said quietly. "There are dangerous people out there who want to hurt him. His company's made some serious enemies." Then he looked me straight in the eye. "I think you may need to become that person again sooner than you think." I brushed it off. After everything I'd survived, all I wanted was a normal, peaceful life. I truly believed my fighting days were behind me. The morning of the wedding was perfect. I woke up in the guest house on the Harrison estate with sunlight pouring through those expensive curtains. For one peaceful moment, I forgot all the tension and drama. I was just happy. I was marrying the man I loved. My mom helped me into my wedding dress, a simple but beautiful white gown that even Catherine couldn't criticize. It wasn't flashy or overdone, which made it perfect for me. My mother's eyes filled with tears while she buttoned the back. "You look like a princess, sweetheart," she whispered. "Your father and I are so proud of you." My bridesmaids, my cousin Lucy, and two friends from back home were getting ready nearby. They kept talking about how gorgeous everything looked, how huge the estate was, and how lucky I was. And honestly, I did feel lucky. No matter how cold Daniel's family acted, I was about to marry a man who loved me for who I really was. The ceremony was planned for 4 o'clock in the mansion gardens. Catherine had hired the top wedding planners in the state, and I had to admit, the place looked unreal. White roses covered everything, rows of chairs lined the garden perfectly, and a giant flower-covered arch waited where Daniel and I would say our vows. When it was finally time to walk down the aisle, my heart was pounding with happiness. My dad took my arm and gave me a nervous smile in his rented tuxedo. "You ready for this, sweetheart?" he asked softly. I nodded just as the music started. The garden doors opened, and there was Daniel waiting for me at the altar. He looked amazing in his black tuxedo, and the second our eyes met, his whole face lit up with the biggest smile. Walking down that aisle felt unreal. Nearly 200 guests stood watching, politicians, business executives, rich socialites, all there to see the small-town mechanic marry the billionaire. I spotted Catherine sitting in the front row, looking elegant but still not fully approving. Amanda sat beside her, whispering to a friend like always. But the second I reached Daniel, none of them mattered anymore. He took my hands and squeezed them gently. "You look incredible," he whispered. The ceremony went perfectly. Daniel promised to love me exactly the way I was, and I promised to stand beside him no matter what happened. When he slid the ring onto my finger, I honestly felt like the luckiest woman alive. Then the minister smiled and said, "You may kiss the bride." The moment Daniel kissed me, every rude comment, every cold stare, every doubt just disappeared. We were married. Somehow, against all odds, the small-town mechanic really had married the billionaire, and for a little while, it felt like a fairy tale. After the ceremony, everyone gathered on the mansion's back terrace for cocktails. Champagne flowed nonstop, a jazz band played softly in the background, and the sunset covered everything in golden light. For the first time all day, I finally relaxed. Daniel and I were walking around thanking guests when I noticed something that instantly made my stomach tighten. Several waiters were moving through the crowd carrying champagne trays, but something about them felt wrong. Their posture was too stiff, too alert, and instead of watching the guests, their eyes kept scanning the crowd like they were searching for targets. I'd seen that look before. It was the look of soldiers on a mission. I grabbed Daniel's arm tightly. "Something's wrong," I whispered. He looked at me, confused. "What do you mean?" "The waiters near the back entrance," I said quietly. "They don't belong here." Daniel glanced over at them, then smiled gently at me. "Honey, you're just nervous." "It's normal to feel overwhelmed," Daniel said softly. "This is a huge day." I wanted to believe him, but every instinct I'd learned in the military was screaming that something was wrong. Without even thinking, I started checking exits, counting how many guests stood between us and safety, and tracking where the security guards were positioned. That's when I spotted my brother Jake across the terrace. He was talking to one of the actual waiters, but his eyes kept moving around the crowd. He looked just as tense as I felt. Then our eyes locked, and I knew immediately. He sensed it too. And then everything exploded into chaos. The terrace lights suddenly went out, leaving only the string lights glowing in the trees. Somebody screamed. Glass shattered nearby. Then a loud voice cut through the panic. "Everybody on the ground! Now!" 6 men dressed in dark clothes appeared from different sides of the terrace, their faces hidden behind masks. Every one of them carried a gun, and they moved with perfect coordination. These weren't random criminals. This was a planned operation. Guests started screaming and dropping to the floor. Catherine fainted instantly, collapsing onto the terrace in her expensive gown. Amanda grabbed onto some businessman while sobbing uncontrollably. William Harrison just stood there frozen, pale as a ghost. "This is not a robbery," the leader announced loudly. "Hand over your jewelry, wallets, and phones. Move fast, and nobody gets hurt." But I knew better. I'd seen operations like this before. Men trained like that didn't crash billionaire weddings for watches and necklaces. They were there for something bigger. Daniel wrapped an arm around me, trying to shield me. "It's okay, Sarah," he whispered. "Just do what they say and we'll get through this." But my mind was already working. 6 visible attackers, probably more hidden nearby. Exits covered, hundreds of civilians trapped in the middle. And Daniel, my husband for less than an hour, had no idea what was really happening. One of the masked men walked toward us with his gun raised. "You!" he barked at me. "Bride in the dress! Take off all the jewelry!" My hands shook as I slowly removed my earrings and necklace. Daniel was struggling with his watch, trying to get it off in a panic. "Faster!" the gunman snapped, grabbing my arm hard. His grip ripped my dress sleeve halfway off my shoulder. And that's when something in me just broke loose. The second he put his hands on me, 12 years of military training snapped into place like instinct. All the fear and shock vanished. My mind went cold, sharp, and focused. Before I was Sarah the mechanic, I was Staff Sergeant Sarah Mitchell with the U.S. Army Special Forces. I did 3 tours in Afghanistan, led missions behind enemy lines, and brought soldiers home alive when things went bad. I left that life after losing too many good people, just wanting peace in a small garage. But there was no peace right now. That gunman made a huge mistake. He expected a scared bride, not someone like me. In one smooth motion, I grabbed his wrist, twisted hard until his grip broke, and drove my knee straight into his stomach. As he folded over gasping, I yanked the gun from his hand and slammed the butt of it into the back of his head. He dropped cold. It all happened in maybe 3 seconds. The other 5 gunmen just froze. They were staring at their guy on the ground like they couldn't believe it. "Sarah?" Daniel looked at me like I was a stranger. And honestly, I was someone he'd never met before. But I didn't have time for explanations. The others were already recovering and bringing their weapons up. I pushed Daniel behind a flipped table. "Everybody stay down and crawl toward the house. Now!" I yelled at the guests. Catherine's voice was screaming somewhere in the chaos. "Oh my God, what is happening?" 2 gunmen started moving toward us. Using the weapon I just took, I fired to keep them back while people ran for cover. The perfect wedding was turning into a battlefield. Flower arrangements exploded under gunfire. Glass shattered everywhere. Fancy tables splintered as bullets ripped through them. Then I saw Jake at my side. He'd already taken down one of the attackers. "I told you this was coming," he shouted over the noise. "Save the 'I told you so' for later," I shot back, reloading fast. "How many left?" 3 active, maybe more inside. I quickly scanned everything, running a full tactical assessment in my head. The remaining gunmen had pulled back into defensive spots behind the bar and large planters. They were clearly trying to lock down every exit so no one could escape or call for help. That confirmed what I already suspected. "This isn't random," I told Jake. "They're after Daniel. This is a targeted hit." Daniel was still crouched behind the table when he grabbed my arm. "Sarah, what are you doing? Who are you?" There was no time to explain. One of the attackers was already moving along the left side, trying to flank us. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Amanda and William huddled near the house, both of them staring at me like I was someone they didn't recognize. The mechanic they'd insulted was now taking apart a trained hit team in real time. "Daniel, Get your family and move toward the house, I ordered him. Stay low, stay together, and don't turn back. I'm not leaving you. You're not leaving me, I said. You're following instructions so I can keep you alive. I left cover, using overturned tables and broken chairs as concealment as I moved. The gunman on the left never saw me coming. I took him down fast, and he went unconscious beside the others. That left 2 more behind the bar. They had stopped firing, probably trying to figure out how their operation had fallen apart so quickly, and I knew I could use that hesitation. What happened next changed everything between me and Daniel's family. Catherine Harrison, the woman who had treated me like trash for months, was now crouched behind a decorative fountain with Amanda. Both were crying, makeup running, expensive dresses ruined. Then one of the last gunmen spotted them and started moving in. I didn't even think. I sprinted across the open terrace to draw his fire away from them. Bullets snapped past me as I dove behind the dessert table. Our perfect wedding cake exploded into frosting and shards. Catherine, Amanda, move to the house now, I shouted, but Catherine was frozen in fear, unable to move. The gunman kept advancing, weapon raised on her. And in that moment, something shifted. No matter how they'd treated me, I couldn't let them die. They were Daniel's family now, which made them mine too. I moved around the fountain on the opposite side, staying low and quiet. The gunman never even realized I was there until I was right behind him. One clean strike to the side of his neck and he dropped instantly. Catherine looked up at me from the ground, her perfect hair messy, her face streaked with tears and dirt. You saved us," she whispered. "Can you stand?" I asked, offering her a hand. She nodded shakily, still in shock as I pulled her up. Amanda was clinging to my arm like it was the only solid thing left in the world. The same woman who had called me a gold digger just hours earlier. "I'm sorry," Amanda cried. "I'm so sorry for everything I said about you. We'll deal with that later," I told her. "Right now you just need to stay alive." There was still one gunman left. He had pulled back inside the house. Jake had the perimeter locked down and was getting guests out, but we couldn't leave it unfinished while a threat was still inside. Daniel came up beside me, staring like he was trying to process a different person. "Sarah, I don't understand. How do you know how to do all this?" I took his hands. My wedding dress was torn, stained with grass and dirt, my hair falling out of place. "Daniel, I used to be a soldier," I said. "Special forces. I've been trying to leave that life behind, but it looks like it found me again anyway." His eyes widened. "You were military?" 12 years, 3 tours in Afghanistan. I retired as a staff sergeant and came to Millfield because I wanted peace. I wanted to fix engines instead of people. William stepped forward, finally speaking clearly for the first time all night. "You mean you're trained for combat?" "Yes, sir." He looked at the unconscious attackers scattered across the terrace, then back at me. "You saved us." "I saved your family," I corrected him. Sirens were getting closer now, but we weren't done yet. Jake and I moved into the mansion together, clearing room by room. That's when we found the last gunman trying to escape through a back window. He gave up without a fight the moment he realized he was alone and completely outmatched. By the time the police and FBI arrived, all 6 attackers were already restrained. We'd used decorative ribbon from the wedding setup to zip tie them. The agents stopped in their tracks, clearly not expecting the victims to have handled everything themselves. "Ma'am, can you explain what happened here?" the lead FBI agent asked me. I looked down at my ruined wedding dress, then at Daniel and his family. They were all staring at me like they were seeing a different person. "Some men tried to hurt my family," I said simply. "I didn't let them." The investigation afterward uncovered the full truth. The attackers weren't random criminals. They were hired mercenaries sent by Harrison Tech's main competitor. Daniel's company had developed technology that could change data security, and instead of competing, someone had decided to remove Daniel entirely. One of the FBI agents, Agent Martinez, recognized my military record. "Staff Sergeant Mitchell," he said as he shook my hand. "I've seen your file. Your country owes you a great deal." Daniel's eyes widened. "Staff Sergeant?" Agent Martinez turned to him. "Your wife is a highly decorated combat veteran. She led missions that saved hundreds of lives." He added that the army didn't even want to lose me when I retired. After the agents left and the scene was secured, we all ended up inside the mansion's living room. Nobody spoke for a while. The silence felt heavy. Catherine kept looking at me like she couldn't connect the woman who saved her life with the mechanic she had insulted for months. Finally, William broke the silence. "Sarah, I owe you an apology. We all do. We judged you by your job, your background, things that don't really matter. We never took the time to know who you actually were." Catherine was crying again, but it wasn't the same kind of tears as before. "You could have let them," she said quietly. "You could have just saved Daniel and walked away. After everything we said to you, everything we did." I shook my head. "You're Daniel's family," I said. "That makes you my family too. And family protects each other. No exceptions." Amanda, who had been silent since everything happened, finally spoke up. "I called you a gold digger." "I said you weren't good enough for my brother," Amanda said, her voice breaking. "But you're the strongest, bravest person I've ever met. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm asking for it anyway." I looked at her for a moment. The same girl who had made my life miserable for months now just looked lost and ashamed. "Amanda," I said quietly, "people say things they don't mean when they're scared. You weren't really reacting to me. You were scared of change, of someone new coming into your family. I get that." Daniel squeezed my hand. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked. "About your military service? About all of this?" I let out a long breath. The adrenaline was finally gone, and it felt like my whole body weighed a ton. "Because I didn't want that life attached to us," I said. "I wanted to be Sarah, the mechanic who fell in love with Daniel the man, not Daniel the billionaire CEO who married Staff Sergeant Mitchell. I wanted something simple, something real." Daniel shook his head slightly. "But this is you," he said. "All of it. The mechanic. The soldier. The woman who saved my family. I fell in love with your strength and your heart. Now I understand where it all came from." Catherine stood up slowly and walked over to me. For a second I thought she might still be cold toward me. Instead, she pulled me into a hug. "Welcome to the family, Sarah," she whispered, "the real family. I'm sorry it took almost losing you to see it." The weeks after the wedding felt surreal. The story blew up in the media. Headlines like "Mechanic Bride Takes Down Wedding Attackers" followed us everywhere. But behind all that noise, something real changed. My relationship with Daniel's family completely shifted. Catherine started showing up at my garage, actually wanting to learn how cars worked. "I honestly never understood any of this," she admitted one day while I was working on her Mercedes brakes. "I just assumed it all got handled for me." Amanda, on the other hand, started volunteering at a veterans support center I donated to. "I want to do something that actually matters," she told me. Amanda said she wanted to become someone I could actually be proud to call my sister-in-law. "Something that makes you proud to have me in the family," she told me quietly. William, the man who barely even looked my way before, completely changed too. He started using his business contacts to help veterans find jobs and stable housing. "You showed me what real service looks like," he said. But the biggest shift was Daniel. Finding out about my past didn't pull us apart, it brought us closer. He started asking about my deployments, not out of curiosity, but because he genuinely wanted to understand every part of me. One night, he told me as we sat on the porch of our new home, a place that was a middle ground between his mansion and my old apartment, "I feel like I finally understand you." "I used to wonder where your calm came from," he said. "Now I get it." I asked him something I'd been holding in. "Are you disappointed?" I said. "That I'm not just the simple mechanic you thought you were marrying?" He just laughed and pulled me closer. "Sarah," he said, "you're the most complex, incredible woman I've ever met. You're a war hero who chose peace. You can take down armed men, but you're also kind enough to forgive people who didn't deserve it. You're exactly who I thought I was marrying, just so much more." What surprised me most was how my military experience didn't just stay in the past. It actually became useful in Daniel's world. Harrison Tech started working on advanced security systems for military contracts, and suddenly, my background wasn't something to hide anymore. It was something that gave me real value. I went from feeling like an outsider in Daniel's world to someone who actually helped shape it. Jake, who had been so worried before the wedding, became a regular at our family dinners. "I'm glad you married him," he told me one night, "not because of the money, but because he sees all of you, not just the parts he understands." 6 months later, Daniel and I renewed our vows in a small private ceremony with just close family and a few friends. This time, there were no gunmen, no chaos, no judgment. It was just love, understanding, and a future built on honesty instead of assumptions. Standing there in a simple white dress, holding Daniel's hands while our real families watched us with genuine happiness, I finally saw it clearly. I had spent so long trying to run from who I used to be that I almost forgot something the military taught me a long time ago. You don't have to choose between being strong and being at peace. You can be both. A warrior and a healer, a protector and someone who loves deeply, tough and gentle at the same time. And I realized something else too. The most ordinary looking people can carry the most extraordinary pasts. The person you think you know completely might still surprise you in ways you never expect. Sometimes it takes a crisis to reveal who someone really is, and once it's revealed, being truly understood feels a lot better than being misunderstood on purpose. My name is Sarah Harrison. I'm a mechanic who fell in love with a billionaire. I'm also a decorated war veteran who protected her new family on her wedding day. Both things are true. Both are part of me. I'm the woman who can fix your engine and protect your life, the one who chose love over fear, and the one who learned that the right people won't love you in spite of your past, but because of the strength it gave you. That's my story, and I'm proud of every piece of it. Now I want to ask you something. What would you have done in my place? Would you have told Daniel everything before the wedding? Or do you understand why I kept it to myself? Have you ever been shocked by someone's hidden strength? Let me know below in the comments. And if this story hit you as hard as it hit Daniel's family, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this. Hit the bell so you don't miss what's next, because trust me, the stories coming up will leave you speechless. And always remember, everyone you meet is fighting battles you know nothing about, and sometimes the quiet ones are the strongest of all.